I want to talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions. I I think somewhere like a little over 10 years ago, maybe longer, I stopped making them because it felt it felt pointless because most people I know make their resolution and then don't keep it, and it it's so common to forget your resolution that it's now more of a joke. Like, it feels more silly to make one than to not make one because they're like uh they're like ridiculed. The idea of making a New Year's resolution feels dorky and like, well, that's not going to work. And I think that's not the point. I don't think that should be the approach to thinking about New Year's resolutions. I did a quick Google to see if New Year's resolutions have been studied at all, and I found three different articles saying three different percentages, um, saying that, well, 55% of the people we asked reported to said that their resolution was a success. And then I scrolled down to the next article, and it said that less than 5% of people thought that their resolution was successful. So it's a range, man. It means nothing, and it also depends on what you think is successful. If your resolution is to become like super fit, and then the year passes and you're not super fit, you might think that you have failed. You did not do a good job this year. But if your New Year's resolution is to become a person who exercises more, you'll probably succeed just because you will have thought about it more than last year. If you go from working out never to taking a walk every few weeks, that's a success. That's awesome. That is a huge improvement to doing nothing. And I don't think that New Year's resolutions are necessarily necessary, but I think they're a little helpful. I think it's less about New Year's is special because having a new year is arbitrary. It's not the new year for everyone. So it doesn't really mean much. But I think one useful thing about it is the date, like 1/1. The fact that it's January. It doesn't even have to be on the first day of January. If you forgot to make your resolution, if you just say, I want to start reading more books and I want to read a book once a month, or start reading a book once a month and then not finish it if I don't like the book, and you're able to maintain that for a while, starting at the in January makes it very easy to track how long you've been doing this new hobby for. So, uh, next January, you'll have done it for a year. And you can use the year as your marker. Like, it's been 4 years. And it has been actually 4 years since I started reading because I started in January. So it's just easier to keep track of if you started on the first month. Because counting is easier. I don't know. Easier math, I guess. So that's handy. Like, I know I started learning how to use Blender a few years ago, but I don't know exactly how long I've been doing it for because I didn't like start it in January. I started it vaguely at some point in the middle of the year and then didn't really take it seriously. And then a few months later, uh, I started taking it more seriously. And I don't have the date on that, so I can kind of say I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, but I don't exactly know. And if I had started in January of a certain year because it was New Year's, I could tell you right now off the top of my head how long I've been doing it for exactly, which is could be useful, could be not useful. It's not really important information, but it could be motivating. It is kind of exciting to look back and realize you've been doing something for so long. But maybe for some people that can be demotivating because maybe you think you're not as good at the thing as you thought you should be, and you've been doing it for 5 years and you're like embarrassed that you've been doing this for 5 years and you're not as good as other people. Um, and I can see why that would be discouraging, but I do also think that that's not factoring in everything. But going back to resolutions, I still don't like to make them, but I do try to remember that it is a new year, and I do fall into the habit of like, well, last year sucked. I, I want this next year to be better. And I've said this before, and I've heard people say this before, where I don't even know what it means, but you say like, this is going to be our year. This is going to be my year. This is the year. And I do wonder if giving yourself that year takes the pressure off because it lets you not um you don't feel so rushed. You don't have to get to it right this second. You have a whole year to get your life in order. Which sounds like a lot of time, even if it's not that much time. And then the next year comes and you look back and realize you have not done everything that you wanted to because uh you're still a regular person who needs to be motivated um to do anything. And just because you said you're going to do it doesn't mean you actually want to. So, I go for hikes. I used to go for hikes a lot. I've done this exact hike. I don't know how many times, a lot over the years, and ever since high school. Um, but in the last, I would say 5 years, it has become way less frequent. I used to do it every week or every month, and now it happens like once a year. I have not climbed this specific, we'll say mountain. Um, it's probably been like 6 months since I've been here. And it's a lot harder now. I'm in worse shape. I'm older. It's less comfortable. By the end of this video, you'll see me going back down before I get to the top, which is not common. Usually, the top is it's an easy benchmark. If you just this is not a huge thing. If you just hike up the trail, you can get up and you can get to the top and back down in like an hour. But I like to take breaks. I like to chill. I like to look at the city. But my girlfriend is with me on this hike, and she got attacked by bees, which neither of us have ever actually seen in real life. But she thought there were flies. I thought there were flies or something near her, and she was getting stung. So we went back down. So maybe we'll do this hike again later. So you're not going to see the top of this mountain in this video because bees, man, that's crazy. I'm recording this like a week after we shot the video, so she's fine. She doesn't feel the stings anymore. She's completely recovered from it. But it's just a crazy thing to think back on. Like that's never happened before. I didn't even know there were bees up there. I've been getting more and more busy with things that are not video related, and my mind has sort of lost interest in making these videos for the sake of making these videos. I don't really have as much of an interest in dedicating a lot of time to these. But it is fun to sit down and record and process my thoughts. So I'll try to keep doing them every 3 weeks. But if in the next coming months I miss an upload, that's why. This is not a priority for me. I do these for me, and right now it's not doing much for me. So I kind of want to stop, but I know myself and I know that if I miss 1 week, I will probably stop for 6 months. I keeping like a streak going is a little bit motivating. Like I didn't have much to do. I didn't have a video in mind for today. So I'm recording this the day before it's going up. I'm just getting it out to hit the number. First video of the year. I don't know. And if I don't do it right now, I'll miss the upload tomorrow, and I won't feel the need to post anything anytime soon. And I will probably just stop uploading videos fully until I come up with something that I want to do 6 months to a year from now. If that, I might never make a video again. I used to make a lot of stuff in the past that I ultimately just stopped because if I'm just doing it for me, then I don't need to do it anymore if it's not fun or like good for me. And I think it is still kind of good for me, but I don't know. I have some thoughts on topics that I'd like to read into and discuss a little bit, things I find a little interesting. But it's kind of like reading books. Like, I find them a little interesting. They are somewhat interesting, and I would like to read more, but the time you have to invest into reading is time I could put into something else. And while I think reading is interesting, it's not so interesting that I'm willing to spend that effort. Uh, it's not a priority. Is basically all I'm saying. Like, uh, and I think resolutions are going back to resolutions again. I think that is why they're kind of helpful because it's like saying I want to read more as my New Year's resolution. Now reading has become like a marked priority that's in your brain as something that you think is important to do. Because if you don't start reading more, you will have failed the task. Whereas if you just say, I want to start reading more at a random point in the year, it's not a task that you have to do. It's just something that you think would be cool if you were to do it, but you're not really planning on doing it. But saying it's your resolution feels like you're saying it's an actual plan that you're going to take into consideration and start taking action towards. If I were to have a New Year's resolution for this year, I would say I need to be getting out and meeting more people actively. I sort of started this last year. I started taking classes at the community college, and it was good for me. And then I shifted my priorities and I had to skip a semester because I wanted to spend that time doing other things that I found more important in the moment, but those things never didn't lead to anything, and it honestly just isolated me again. And I'm back to square one of not meeting people. So I need to get back into it and keep maintaining it. But I think it's okay to fail. I think it's okay to try something and then not do a good job of it. Um, I remember hearing, I think it was a comedian. I think it was Bill Burr, but mentioning that like it's frustrating to want to exercise more and then failing to exercise more. Like you want to be a person who exercises, so you start and then you give up after like a month, and then you feel like a loser and you feel like you've done nothing and wasted your time, and then that mentality makes you never want to start again because you're embarrassed and you feel like what's the point if I'm just gonna stop. And uh, the comedian was talking about how that is you're still getting somewhere. And if you give up after like a week or two, that's okay because chances are, if next year you give it another shot, you'll probably last like 3 to 4 weeks or maybe a month or two because you've done this before. Like it's a little bit easier than it was last time. And if you say you're going to exercise forever, starting now, and then you fail and you stop, next time you do that, it'll probably last a little longer than this time. And maybe it'll take you 5, 6 times of trying to commit before you actually make a meaningful amount of commitment. Like you commit for 6 months. But it's eventually going to happen if you just keep giving it a shot periodically. Like it's okay. There's so many things to prioritize. You don't need to feel like an idiot or a loser for failing to prioritize something that other people do prioritize because you're not them. You have other things you're thinking about. And if you feel bad about it and you want to fix that later, then try again later. It's fine. Make the same resolution every year, and you'll probably do it for a little bit longer every year. Maybe eventually you'll actually keep it up, or you won't. And that's honestly probably fine. I think being mindful and making attempts are as important as, eh, almost as important as actually doing the work in most cases. And if you don't think that's true, then there's a good chance that you're going to convince yourself to not even make the effort because you're afraid of it being a waste of time. So instead, you won't even try in the first place. Like, I think it would be better to make a resolution to work out every day for a year and then work out for 3 weeks and then stop. That's better than saying, well, it's not going to work. So you don't make the resolution and you don't work out at all. Like 3 weeks of exercise is better than no weeks of exercise. Like give it a shot. Something. Well, that's all I got for this time, and maybe I'll see you again, and maybe I'll be back in 3 weeks, and maybe I won't, but I'm gonna try. Bye.